time for the Rusty Nut Show here on KSWV AM 810, and of course, partnership with the Auto Angel. How's it going, Gabe?
Hey, good morning, Anthony. Thank you for being with me this morning. I appreciate it.
It's
I'm
always a
so
pleasure.
glad that Patricio's too busy to join us. He's
Hey, man,
probably on a beach somewhere with a
sipping the Mai Tai
margarita, sipping
margarita.
it. Who knows? But anyway, thank you so much for filling in. Hello, radio listeners out there. This is the Rusty Nut Show, and what our mission is to teach people how to take care of their second largest investment in life, that being your automobile, second only to your home. So the whole goal here is to educate people how to stay in front of the tow truck. That's the number one goal.
Definitely.
So we're here every Tuesday, right?
Oh, of course, every Tuesday at 10:30, and so that's
Taco
going to be
Tuesday.
oh my gosh! Every time I hear Tuesday, I think of tacos, and it doesn't go away till I get one, even if that like taco is until Saturday.
Oh man. And then this is, so the show's all attitude of gratitude. So I always start off by saying thank you to the Gonzalez family for having this station um, all these years. It's such I don't know, such a part of the community, and you guys give back in so many ways. And this is one of the ways, by giving a voice to a show like this to help people learn things that are important to them. I know that you guys do, talks with the mayor, and you have the water show, and you have the DWI, so many different shows. So thank you so much for giving us a voice that we can reach so many people.
Oh, you're
Um,
always it's a pleasure for us too, because to be able to be in a position to where we can do that, it's always been a blessing. That's what it was founded on. So
I think that your grandpa looks down and just he's glad to see you guys continuing to do good. It's awesome,
thank you,
and
thank
your
you.
jefito too. All right, so we'll get into my next thank you goes out to our team here at the Auto Angel. They give me freedom every week to be on the radio with you, and they're the ones under hoods right now, or under cars, or on phones, or in front of computers, and I'm so grateful to all of them. Vanessa, David, Todd, Emilio, Adan, Norma, and Ernest. So thank you so much to all of them. I always take a quick second to say hi to my mom, Selena. Hello. And my
This
wife,
is where my
Carolina.
uncle Pat would go, "Mama,
Yeah, yeah.
mama."
There you go. Now you're doing him proud. And then
There
he
we
does.
go,
He
"Mama,
does that. There
mama."
you go. And then I gotta say hi to my suegra and my other suegra, and here we go. So now we get into some more serious gratitude. The red, white, and blue thank you. This is to all enlisted servicemen and women, active duty, stateside, abroad, reservists, veterans, and most of all the families that support these brave men and women. So Patricia and I always, try to stress that across this great country, there are families that tonight at dinner, there'll be a chair where one of their loved ones isn't in it because they're volunteering to defend us and defend the freedoms that we enjoy. And for them, it's very real. For one thing, for us to just sit here and say thank you, or to thank someone for their service, their families at home who miss their dad, who miss their mom, their uncle, their children. That's a big void in those homes. And we're very appreciative on this show, and we try to make sure that we get that voiced. And then now I'm going to pass the mic over to you, and I'd like you to thank the first responders, because I know that's
Definitely.
dear to you.
To our first responders, our firefighters, our police officers, our nurses, our nursing staff, all the people that are working in the hospitals right now on the ground floor. Where even in Albuquerque, you see people, and there's so many people in the hospital that the nurses that are supposed to be in one department are not in that department because they're having to monitor other people on a different floor. We have a lot of different changes going on throughout the world, but certain people are built different, and they pick up that change and they run with it. And I think that's why we give these shout outs to, of course, our police officers. Thank you guys for sacrificing your time, your effort, putting your lives on the line every day to make sure we're safe. To our firefighters who run into those fires when we have to run out, and
There you go.
who come rushing when someone's sick. They're the ones that come and pick you up and make sure everything's okay. Even when you get in a car accident, you'll see the firefighters there making sure that you're okay, pulled out of the car safety. Even like you saw, there's a tire fix a flat. Someone pull over, help them fix their tire or whatever they can, as much as they can
Sure.
do to serve the community. And so their families are waiting for them too. They do shifts. So to the families that are waiting, we thank you also. Thank you for waiting, and just having that heart of giving, even of your husband or your wife, to do that. So God bless you very much to all of you guys, and a big thank you from us.
Yes, so definitely a rusty nut. Thank you. So now I got an empty office. I'm gonna go ahead and demask for a minute. So
Oh
I
man,
can.
don't do. Okay, hey, I thought it was going to be a bigger
I want
beard
to get
there for
even with
some
you. You're
reason.
not wearing a mask, and I can see you. How
But
how can
I
people
wear
see
close.
us anyway?
Yeah, we could. I'm sorry.
How can people see
Well,
us?
people can check us out on YouTube. We got these episodes up live. Also, go to our website, www.kswvradio.com. It's super awesome. And you can
You
check
should
out,
put a warning,
I
like
should put a warning like,
guys
hey,
on Patricio and Gabriel are not wearing masks. Watch this link at your own risk.
it's all, hey, it's all, you will not get COVID from watching this, but your eyes might hurt.
Your eyes will burn. Yeah,
Your
no
eyes will
doubt.
burn. It'll
I
burn
got it.
some
We
eyes
got
right now.
faces for
You
radio,
might not be
no
ready
doubt.
for this lifestyle if you're watching this.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll get into. We used to do next used to be the Azul Gracias. That was our blue collar thank you, but new in 22, which we're switching that around. So those of you who are expecting a blue collar or Azul Gracias, we're changing it to the right there, the backbone of America, which is small businesses and really big here in New Mexico entrepreneurship. And so now we're gonna, since we spent a couple of years thanking individual jobs, we're just gonna move into the employers of those. So these entrepreneurs of small businesses are the foundation for our state by creating jobs and providing critical services that even our government's not able to or willing to provide. And often we as consumers take those for granted. And they give back in so many other ways besides providing jobs. They have sponsoring youth leagues, tournaments, little league, yaffle football. You always see these names of these businesses helping on a more grassroots level. So it's really a big part of the fabric of the community that we live in. So many people think that business owners are rich and they fail to understand how hard these owners had to work to build reputable businesses. The bills don't stop coming, the technology is racing, things are changing constantly. And that's why we want to take a minute and say, to thank those small businesses. And the Rusty Nut Certified opinion is this even includes some of these big box chain stores. I mean,
Mhm.
you and I like to be able to know, we don't even think about it, but we can stop and buy fuel any day, anytime, anywhere in the United States with a credit card. You can just pull up to in the middle of nowhere. Heck, you can buy gas in Penasco at night with your credit card. That's the middle of nowhere.
That is in the middle of
So
nowhere.
it's not really.
No,
Saludes to
no,
everybody up in El
but it's
Rumbo del
beautiful.
Norte.
Hey,
Oh,
they
it's
got
awesome.
difference. It's so
But you can
beautiful.
buy fuel there. If you need to start your tractor to plow the snow, they have diesel. You can get it there at night. So we're grateful to small business people like that. We're also grateful to the big chain businesses that make some of that stuff possible. Um,
Definitely.
and so last week we did Capital Ford. That was our first one ever. And today we're doing number 2 is ProTech AC and Heating, owned by Matthew Madrid and his family. This business is a true family business. Matt graduated from Votech here at Santa Fe High in 1990. He went on to UTI in Phoenix, Arizona. He's a lifelong resident of Santa Fe, and I'm proud to call him a friend of mine. The Madrid families are all an example of what hard work and honesty can achieve both privately and professionally. ProTech has fixed my forced air furnaces, my swamp coolers. They've installed for me state-of-the-art air conditioning, refrigerated systems. Once I was bragging to an Auto Angel client about them, and he said that he had an incident with their work. And then when I looked at him kind of in shock, and I was like surprised, and he quickly, continued and said, but that the owner, Matthew, corrected the mistake and he was pleased. And I think that's the biggest compliment right there is that, remember, it's the service that counts even after the sale.
Definitely.
It's how a small business owner handles a mistake, because everybody tries their best and sometimes they come up short for whatever reason.
But everybody does. Everybody is going to
There you
make a
go.
mistake. We're all human. We're all
Unless you
human.
don't do anything. That's what my dad would say. My dad used to say the only people who don't mess up are the ones that don't do anything.
That is a word of wisdom right there. If you don't do anything, you'll never make a
You're
mistake.
probably not gonna mess up too easy. So, uh, to the Madrid, that they get the Rusty Nut Certified Small Business of the Week.
Thank you
Uh,
guys very much. Those
yeah,
guys, ProTech, those guys are fierce.
they're awesome.
Big shout out.
We're really glad to have them we're lucky to have them in the community here. And then we'll go on to the Kyovus of the day. We got Eric with an A, Alan Garcia there in Burke. We're gonna say hi to Norma's husband, Donald with a D,
My
and
man
Eric
Donald.
and his team over at GM Emulsion. We'll say hi to them real quick. And then after that, you go into your Kyovos. And meanwhile, I'm gonna grab Norma for the Spanglish lesson.
Let's do it. Okay, big shout out on my end to my uncle Pat. I hope you're listening somewhere. I hope you know how good this show is running right here. Just saying, like you're good on it, but this show's running good with us too. And as I'm saying that, Norma's here, and she's gonna bust me down with some nice Spanish talk right here. Norma, please go easy on me like you did last week. I felt accomplished when you taught me some Spanish, and after I forgot it as soon as you taught it to me, but I felt it for about a minute.
Good, good, Anthony. It's nice to see you. I
It's
want to
always
say
good to
hi
see
to
you.
all the beautiful people in New Mexico. I hope everyone is doing well. So, ¿está listo?
¿Está listo? Did I
Sí,
say that okay?
ok, perfecto. ¿Sabe cómo decir blinkers en Spanish?
So how do I say blinkers in Spanish?
Mm.
I'm gonna say no. I don't know. I really
Sí, and
don't.
those are important, right?
Yes, ma'am. They
So,
are very important.
ok, ajá. Puede decir luces
Luces
intermitentes.
intermitentes.
Sí,
Yeah.
perfecto.
Well, I
Ok.
can understand that part. So like intermittent lights, lights that go on and off. Like so, I can understand it a little bit. Spanish, I can understand, but I can't speak it back a lick of it. I do got to take it again. But oh
No,
my
no,
gosh,
no. You will practice with me. See.
I'll
So,
practice.
how will you tell Gabe? So, we will say, necesita
Necesita
decirle
decirle
a Gabriel
a Gabriel
que mis luces
que mis luces
intermitentes
intermitentes
pararon
pararon
de trabajar.
de trabajar.
Ajá.
I need you to work
Perfect.
on my blinkers. Is that
No,
what?
I need to
No.
take. I need to tell Gabriel that my blinkers stop working.
Oh, I got to tell Gabriel that my blinkers stopped working. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what,
that's
Norma?
perfect.
You are this. These are just the wisest words that I've learned all week.
No, good. Because what if you are in that situation and you actually need the help, right? So
It's the truth.
wonderful, Anthony.
My mom always used to tell me that the biggest blessing you can ever give yourself is to learn a language that you don't know. Because if you
Exactly.
need to speak it and you can speak it, it's very difficult to communicate regardless.
It is true. It is true. Your mom is a very wise lady. So thank you so much, Anthony.
Thank you, Norma,
And
for
thank you,
sharing your
everyone
wisdom.
that is hearing. You are one of my favorite students, Anthony. So
Oh,
take
thank
care.
you. I'm gonna tell Uncle Pat that next time. I'm gonna tell
No,
him. So,
tell him.
okay, I will. I'll tell him. Thank
I
you.
want to see him. Bye bye.
It's always beautiful to see you. God bless you. Swabber Radio, you are listening to the Rusty Nut Show. That was Norma. She was giving me the smackdown on some awesome Spanglish lessons. Actually, she went very easy with me. I really appreciate that because she knows that I'm fragile in my heart. I don't want to be told negative stuff.
Big tough guy like yourself.
Hey, bro.
Anyway,
A real man can say that he could cry. I could cry sometimes,
okay.
especially with a
well,
lot of
don't
hot
cry
sauce.
now. I don't
I
have time
won't.
for crying.
I'll never do
Okay,
that
let's
now. I would
no
never do that.
lloraderas. Let's get going. So we
Okay.
want to thank Advanced Auto Parts, they're a sponsor that make this show possible for us every week. You can get help from them 6 days a week on Siler Road. Everything from the what did she call los flashers?
Yep.
Si los flashers se queman,
Loose.
voy a comprar un globo eye. There, ¿ve?
Yeah.
Now that's Spanglish.
That was a roundabout of Spanglish. I don't even know
Yeah,
what happened.
that's the Spanglish I understand. Anyway, so when you guys get a chance to patronize Advanced Auto Parts, I recommend it highly. And then we'll get into the real, point of this show is to take the next 15 minutes or so and talk about real life car problems. So the car problems that I discuss usually are reflecting a vehicle that's about 12 years old. That's the average age of the vehicles on the United States roads today. They call it US fleet is 12 years old or older, average. And these topics usually stem from real life situations that we're dealing with here in the shop currently or that we're here recently. So that's where I get the inspiration for what are we going to talk about this week or next week. So this time we're going to go into starts and stalls. So you and I had a little bit of trouble even getting that across just now. I was like, what are we talking about? So basically, you go out to your car, you're going to go to work, you fire it up, and it sounds normal up until it turns off. Before you get a chance to grab the gear selector and put it into drive, it quits running. So it starts and then stalls. Follow?
Got it. Got
All
it.
right. So this is real life stuff that people have either dealt with. Somebody's listening now, say, "Oh, my car did that," or still does that, or it's at the Auto Angel now trying to get fixed for that.
Or they might say, my car will never do that.
There you go. Maybe. We'll see.
I'm just
If
saying, I
they're an
wanted to be a
optimist, yeah.
person that would say that, but I'm like, hey, I know my car did that in the past when I said it would never do that. So it's also a machine. So we'll figure it out.
There you go. And they are all machines. And, let's get into that real quick. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is fuel pressure. So what that means in a modern day automobile, remember 12 years to present, has the gasoline that you pour in your tank. If you can just envision underneath your car, a gas tank is just a plastic reservoir, a plastic box that holds gas. Inside it is the actual fuel pump. And that fuel pump is an electric motor, which sounds weird that they put an electric motor in submerged in a gas tank. But its job when you jump in the car to turn the key on is going to be to lift that fuel from the base bottom of the tank. So the pickup's on the bottom. It sucks the fuel up and it pushes it all the way up to the engine. How's that sound? That makes
It
sense?
sounds awesome. I'm following.
Okay. So one of the things that happens is they have a check valve in them that's designed that when you turn it off, whatever gasoline is already in motion towards the engine, there's a little ball on a spring, and that ball keeps the fuel up there. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep.
We don't want the gas to come back into the tank
And why is that?
because we want it to have gas available as soon as you start it.
Oh, perfect. Right on. So
Make
that's like
sense?
the old school when they used to have carburetors and you put the little cup to dip a little
There
bit
you
of
go.
gas in there to start it. Okay, I
Yeah.
get it.
So the whole idea is that the gasoline is available at the engine at all times. So that as soon as you crank, there's no delay. It should just start, Brum, which 90% of you out there listening, that's exactly how you got to work this morning,
Perfect.
is your vehicle just lit right up. It's when it doesn't is when you start to pay attention more to something like this. So one culprit for the starts and stalls is going to be fuel pumps. So one, Anthony might be thinking, well, do I need a whole fuel pump or can I just get the check valve? Right? That's a good
Right.
question.
No, totally. I get the idea of that, but I don't understand. Like I said, I understand what you're saying, but I don't understand the whole. I
So
don't
I
understand
just
how it works.
gave you a tip to ask a profound question.
Yeah, okay. Oh, let me put it up. Hold on just give me one sec. I love doing this. Gabe, please explain to me how that works.
The
Because
profound question
I'm
is,
a little
can you replace
flabbergasted.
just the check valve or do you have to buy a whole fuel pump?
Okay, let me
So
redo that. Do I just replace just the check valve, or do I got to buy the whole pump?
okay, so the diagnosis that most of you have either already heard or will hear is not that the check valve is bad in your gas tank. You're going to hear that the fuel pump is bad because they're not serviced individually of each other.
Oh, okay.
It's
So they're
built into
serviced
it.
together.
It's one unit.
Okay.
You normally cannot purchase the two separate from each other.
Huh.
Okay.
That's very interesting.
And quite honestly, the amount of effort that it takes to change a fuel pump means you got to drain the fuel, you got to lift the vehicle up in the air, and then you got to put the tank on the ground. So the gas tank has to come out
So
of the
you have
car.
to drop the gas tank.
Got to come out.
Got to come out.
And the safest thing for you to do as a technician is empty it, put it on the ground, remove the fuel pump, replace it, and then put it back. So, if you're dealing with an average 12-year-old car has 140,000 miles on it, and you want to try and do your customer a favor by changing just a portion of that,
Definitely.
you're going to end up with it coming back, or they're going to end up broke down somewhere else, and they're not going to appreciate that you tried to save them money at that point because you failed. They're now broken down with needing the fuel pump anyway. So the summary there is one very common culprit for a start install situation is a bad fuel pump.
Okay.
Once it starts and runs, you're fine. Does that make sense? So you start it, start, and then finally it starts, and now you're okay. Now the gas finally pushed its way up there, and it's ready to go. And as long as the pump is running, the car keeps running.
Got it.
All right. And then the cure for it is just replacing the fuel pump. Another very common issue that allows a vehicle to start up and intermittently die is the throttle body itself. So I teach you guys that for many years, cars had a mechanical connection from the gas pedal to the engine under the hood. And that mechanical connection was usually a cable. And you've probably heard the word throttle cable or gas pedal cable or something like that.
I like cars that have those without the electronic ones. I like them that I know what's moving.
See, and you got some aptitude there. You've had some experience with that. So essentially, when most of the people are driving their car right now, they're pushing down on a pedal, but there's no connection to under the hood anymore.
Mhm.
And so what happens is there's a sensor directly at the pedal, and there's a spring there that makes it feel like you're actually accelerating to your foot so that you can operate the car safely. Make
Mhm.
sense?
Yes,
It's
it does.
simulated, really. So once you step on that, that sensor sends a signal to the computer. The computer then sends a signal under the hood. Under the hood, a little electric motor moves that throttle plate open so that the engine will rev up. And then there's a sensor there that the computer confirms it moved it exactly the amount that it asked for.
Got it.
And think of how well your car responds when you accelerate. This is happening in milliseconds, million times a second. This kind of communication is happening in a vehicle. It's
Wow.
phenomenal that it happens.
The technology's just shot up, hasn't it? Like,
Oh,
I
it's
mean, we
insane how
literally
fast.
went from a cable
And this
from a
stuff's old already. This technology is already old.
I'm
And the
just to
beauty
me,
of
that's
it,
amazing.
as manufacturers, they can program a computer where the throttle will be released during shift points, and you as a driver wouldn't even feel it or notice.
Goodness
Pretty
gracious.
wild. Yeah, it's crazy.
I love
So
cars,
let's
and
get
to be honest,
into
that's probably why I love
these
them, because I don't understand them.
why these throttle bodies can cause a start and stall problem. One of the biggest problem we see with throttle bodies is they get dirty. So they're the first part of the engine to inhale air out past the air filter. So whatever particles the air filter cannot stop. So those of you who've declined your air filter replacement because it looks good are allowing those small particles to continue to pass through to the throttle body. And the throttle body also will have some oil in it because of the crankcase ventilation system. And I don't want to bore anyone with terms, but it does get a nice thick film around the whole throttle body. And that can confuse the computer of where closed throttle is. Does that make sense? So when you take your foot off, so you went home at night, everything was fine, you turned it off, you didn't do anything wrong, you jumped out in the morning, you went to turn the key on, and it goes turns off. And that's has a lot of times all it needs is that throttle body to be cleaned, and that way it can know exactly where closed throttle is. And then that way it can go as soon as you turn the key on, and it knows, the computer says, okay, it's cold, we haven't run yet, I'm going to open the throttle this much. It knows exactly where to set it and how to keep it running. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the car's doing so much work for us that the little jobs that we do, if we forget them, it's like, hey, I can't do that today.
So the I guess the summary there is if you talk to your repair facility and you explain to them that it happens cold, one of the things that's probably going to be in your best interest is that you plan to leave the vehicle with them overnight so that they can duplicate or experience that. And really, realistically, if they offer you a repair, here at the Auto Angel, we'd prefer to keep it another night, because what we really want to see is did we actually fix it?
Got it.
Rather than you bring it to me, I have a dirty throttle body, I clean it, and then I tell you it's fixed, and then you call me in the morning and says it did it again. Go ahead. Profound question number two.
It's a profound one. This has been on my mind since you started telling me about starts and stalls. As soon as it starts and then it stalls, do I try to start it again? Do I do that again? Do I try to recreate the problem on my own?
By all means. Of course.
no
You're
means.
trying to get to work.
Yes, I'm trying to get to work.
And 9 times out of 10, they're going to resolve themselves enough that you'll finally get it running and you'll be able to get to work. And then throughout the day, the ones that I just mentioned will probably behave and run good. So like the first one, the VAD fuel pump, it took all night for that fuel to bleed down into the tank. Follow?
Got it.
On the dirty throttle body, it was only really noticeable when the temperatures were really cold outside.
So go ahead and try and do it again.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Right on.
No sense in giving up. We're not going to hurt it, so let's at least try.
And those are things that automatically, I think, startle people. Like certain things that are just out of whack. If it starts and stalls, I don't want to touch my car. I don't want it to blow up. It's an investment, like we always talk about. But with something like that, I would think, okay, let me try it again. I don't know why something in my head says try it again.
Absolutely. It's no different than if you on your regular, let's say your phone, you sent a text and it said it didn't go through. Well, you're going to try it again.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember, your car's basically a big old computer anymore. Even on these 12-year-old and older cars, there's a lot of computers, and it's not abnormal for them to intermittently misbehave. And I wouldn't resort to a tow truck until I've, exhausted several opportunities to try to get it to run.
Understood. That's
Okay.
loud and clear. Thank you for
All
that.
right. So as we
Appreciate it.
approach a few minutes left, we're going to tackle one more. Number 3 on today's list is last one for today: batteries. Now we've discussed batteries. That was the very first topic I chose when we launched the Rusty Nut Show, and we've seen some products, makes and models, even turn off. So certain vehicles will turn off when they
Yes,
see voltage drop below a certain volts.
definitely,
So it's really hard for the
definitely.
consumer to interpret this, and quite honestly, it can fool a really seasoned technician, because you can bring one of these vehicles in, start it, and it'll fire right up, boom, and it sounds healthy and strong, and it'll just turn off. And the strategy built into the computer is that it saw the voltage drop below a certain specified voltage, and the anti-theft system will kill the car.
Okay, so
So
it didn't want it to move.
it won't, it thinks it's being stolen. That's a kind of maybe a flaw in that programming, but the reality is you need a new battery, and once you replace the battery, you're good to go. The
Mhm.
hard part is most of us who are driving cars are used to batteries being weak, having that labored crank, and we might even wait till it needs a jump start till we finally replace it, right? Or several
Got it.
jump starts.
Yeah.
And on a car like that, it'll fool you, because you'll jump it maybe, and it was just a dead battery, it's good. And then it sounds so good later. You just go to work, you try and start it again, and it cranks fast and starts, run, but then it turns off.
Got
And
it.
again, it's because that battery voltage is falling below a specified threshold.
And then you
So
get into other problems. I mean, you end up
all
trying to crank
kinds.
a dead battery. You go you're into your alternator, and that's bad news right there alone. So
It can get, yeah, it can definitely snowball or get more problematic for you. The reality is that, the whole point of this show is to give you some tips on, if you take your vehicle in to a repair facility, and I think you need to prepare on those to leave a vehicle overnight, at
got
least
it.
one night, because we're trying to duplicate your complaint. The other would be maybe plan on a second night so that we can actually verify the actual repair. So that's kind of where this show is going. So I'm going to kind of summarize today's show real quick. Um, Try to take at least mental notes of the conditions, such as the time of day that it happened. So every morning it happens, or only every day on a Saturday when you leave at 10, whatever. Whenever, if you see any consistency, being able to tell that shop, that might be very useful in them getting to the bottom of that complaint. And this goes for all car complaints, not just these ones, I guess. But if you know when it happens, the conditions, even the ambient temperature,
Hmm.
the location, anything out of the normal, like you hauled a trailer, or you just had a car wash, or maybe you had an oil change recently, doesn't mean they caused anything, but it's something that you noticed, or you remember, hey, I just had an oil change on Monday over at the Auto Angel, and on Tuesday morning my car doesn't start. I wonder if they did something. That's not, you're not shaming anyone. Speak up, bring it up. Hey, I don't know if it has anything to do with it or not, but it's now it doesn't start. And that could be very useful information for the shop working on it to know. It's like, well, I just had an oil change, and they might find it right away, loose battery cable or something like that.
Like we always talk about, speak up. It's not a bad thing to talk to people. It's a good thing.
Yeah, and you might end up saving yourself from, it's really expensive to take your vehicle to a shop and fix it right, but it's even more expensive if it doesn't get fixed and you paid for it to be fixed. That's never good. And if it was misdiagnosed, that's even worse. And usually a lot of that happens at the counter between the individual speaking to a customer and the customer's ability or inability to communicate what really happened. So there has to be questions that get asked in order to ensure that the car's actually going to get fixed right, because
Hmm.
we need to understand the complaint very thoroughly. So we had today, real quick, we had the fuel pressure in a fuel pump. We had dirty throttle bodies that might be fixed just by cleaning. And then we have batteries themselves. And then we'll hang on both of those. Between the throttle body and the battery, another common is people will replace the battery on their own. So let's say Anthony came in and I tested your battery and said, you need a battery. And you say, okay, I could do that myself. And I
Got it.
say, okay, have a good day. And you go buy a battery, put it in, and the next morning it starts installs. And you're like, well, that's weird. Never used to
Hmm.
do that before. We've had some vehicles that the throttle body has to be relearned or cleaned after a battery replacement. They're notorious for it. There's certain product lines that are more common for it than others. And it's not that big a deal when you
Huh.
know it, or know how to deal with it, but it's a bummer when somebody doesn't know. So a lot of times I end up hearing from the customer, my car doesn't idle anymore, it turns off. But
Wow.
they don't tell me I just put a battery in it yesterday.
So
You know
every
what I
little
mean?
detail could help you diagnose a very
Sometimes it
simple
can,
problem.
yeah, sometimes it's worth it. So we try to train our people here at the front to, if they say my car goes bang, 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 swoosh, write down my car goes bang, 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 swoosh, because it might actually help make sense of the complaint later.
Got it. And
All right,
one
man.
thing I do want to say to everybody out there who's definitely listening and who has to take their cars in, let's all have a little bit of patience with everybody. I mean, I'm sure you have to deal with this on a daily basis, but where everybody's busy right now and we're all packed. But if you got to leave your car overnight, just in your head automatically tell yourself, I might be willing to leave it 2 nights just in case to get it done right. That way I don't have to push them, because you don't want to push a mechanic who's working on your thing to get you to work safe and home safe, to make sure it's a rush job, which of course good mechanics won't do. But again, whoever you take it to, we just don't want to rush anybody working on your go-to. And you're going to need to get to work, you're going to need to get home, but you do need to do it safely. And so I think pushing somebody to rush that is a tough thing.
And it's never fun for the consumer to pick up a vehicle and the very next morning it's still broken. I mean,
Exactly.
it's terrible. It's so much better for the shop to be able to experience it and go, oh, shoot, we're wrong, or we got to go back to it, or whatever.
Or just have the time to diagnose it correctly.
Sure.
And so
We're
that's
working on
one
one
thing I was getting at.
for I'll say a quick hello to Felipita Ortiz. We got hers, has been teaching us a lesson on that kind of complaint.
Wow.
It's been a tough one to get to the bottom of it. I'm very appreciative to how patient she's been with us on it.
Well, I hope she gets it back quick, and definitely thank her for her awesome patience. So
awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Bubba. I appreciate you being on the show with me today.
Thank you very much, Gabe. That's the Rusty Nut Show here on Swabber Radio. You can listen to us on YouTube. Check us out, Swabber Radio. We will be back next week. God bless you all.
Hey, have a good one.